Hello friends, my name is Bilal Khan and today I'm going to be working on another topic of the Rust book, that is the drop method. So let's go to the screen and I will show you there. As you can see here that I'm currently present in this Visual Studio Code, and these are the lessons that I have covered in my previous video. So now let's create another lesson, that is the 19th lesson. So let's close this, open the terminal, and then I will show you after creating this directory that what the drop method is. So first of all, let's write what you can say here, cargo new, and then drop what you can say directory name is going to be 19th, drop method, and then the package name is going to be drop method. Okay, so that's the lesson that is created. Now let's open this. Drop method is created. Open the source directory inside this main.rs, and now you can see here that this is the main functionality that is created. So let's remove this, and then after that I will show you that what the drop method is. So drop method is will remove the resources, will remove or clean up the resources, clean up the resources from the memory, even if you are present inside the scope. So yeah, this is the drop method that will basically clean up the resource even if you are present inside the scope. So generally what the Rust does, it will allow you to have the value inside the scope, and you can use this value multiple times if you are present inside the scope. But what the drop method will do, it will allow you to clean up the resources from the memory even if you are present inside the scope. Okay, so for the Rust, it will not allow you to use that value or use the data outside the scope, but you can use it inside the scope. But let's say if you still want to remove that memory inside the scope also, then you can use this drop method or the drop functionality. So yeah, this is what the drop method is. So I will show you that how you can define the scope and how you can use the drop method in it. So first of all, let me just write a main function, and then inside the main function I will first of all create a value that is going to be of the string data type, and this is a string from hello world. Okay, now the value is defined which has the the variable is defined which has the value of hello world, and now if I print that value, then I can simply write like this. Although I have used this kind of syntaxes in my previous video, so make sure to check them out, but I'm just skipping them and writing them fast. So let's write 19 drop method. Okay, so these are all the things that I have covered in my previous videos relevant to the strings and ownership principle, so make sure to check them out, that how you can define the string. But now let's take a look at this cargo run. You can see here that hello world is printed. Okay, so now let's say if I make it inside the scope, although this is also inside the scope because the bracket defines that this value is inside the scope. Okay, so inside this bracket this value is inside the scope, but let's say if I want to define it again inside the scope, then inside the one function, then what I can do here, I can define other two curly braces, and now it is inside the scope. Okay, inside the scope. Okay, and now let's remove the let's print copy this print statement and paste it down here, and now this time I will write outside the scope. Okay, now this time it will not work. You can see here that not found in this scope. Which value is not found? This outside the scope value is not found in this scope because the value is printed present inside the scope. That's why it cannot be printed outside it. Okay, so if I remove this outside the scope value, then it can be printed. You can see here inside the scope the hello world is printed. So from this point I hope you understood. Now the next step that I'm going to do is to, let's say if I want to use this, let's say use this value multiple times inside the scope, I can still use it. Let's clear this. Okay, you can see here that three values are still present inside the scope, but let's say if I don't want to use them multiple times, I want to drop that value. So how I can drop them? I can simply write a first of all import a create that is going to be what you can say is std mem or library that I'm going to be importing, and then what I'm going to do, I need to write mem drop, and the drop is going to be taking the value that is going to be dropped. And now if I take the same, what you can say, print statement and print it like this time it will not work. You can see here that this is giving me the message that value borrowed here. This is the value that is original one that is going to be printed, and now this value is borrowed here this time, even if the value is dropped. So now this time it is not allowing here. You can see here the value moved here, and now it is not allowing me to print it inside the scope. So how I can make it usable again, how I can make it to be printed again? I can simply follow this suggestion here that you can see here, clone. So make a clone of it. It means that the hello world will be present inside the memory 2 times. The first one is this one that is present inside the memory, and if I make a clone or a copy of it, then it will also contain the space in the memory. So now the hello world will contain 2 spaces in the memory, but if I write clone here, okay, so now this time the value will be printed. You can see here inside the scope 2 times are printed because both of them are containing the space in the memory. But you need to keep this in mind that clone is not something that you can use it everywhere. Instead if you are using it every time, then it will affect the memory memory space, because it will contain the memory, and as a result it will not allow you to use it will make the application slow also because of the usage of the memory, and it will also takes a lot of space because the multiple same value is written multiple times. Okay, so let's say if I remove this, then it will not work. Okay, so yeah, this is the point that I was trying to tell you, that how you can use this drop functionality even if you want to use it inside the scope. Okay, so from this lesson, from this point, I hope it is understandable for you that how it will work. So now let's take a look at another broader example. So let's remove, what you can say, comment this. And now the next step that I'm going to do is to basically write this struct. So how I can use the struct? So now previously the name was given, the value was given, okay, and that value was hello world. So similarly I'm going to be creating a struct for it. Okay, so now the clone of the struct will be created. Previously the value the variable clone was created, but now the clone of the struct will be created. So how I can make the clone of it, I will be showing you, but let's write first of all what you can say here, hello, greetings. Okay, it could be anything, right? Greetings, and then greet, hello, string. Okay, and now let's write the next step that I'm going to do is to write a method for it. Okay, so the method is important. After that I have told you that how you can use the method of the struct. So drop method for greetings. Okay, so the drop method that I'm going to be using for greetings. So what I'm going to do is to write it first of all, function drop, and then inside this I will write a mutable reference of what you can say here, this drop that can be mutable, and then I will write the print statement, and inside this print statement what I will do here, I will write defining a resource, okay, and then the name of the resource. The name of the resource is going to be self name or greet. If I show here, if I remove this like this, it will work. Okay, so if I let me just remove this, instead of writing greets I will write name, and similarly I will write resource. Now this thing is fine. So defining the resource, the name of the resource is this, and now let's go outside of this method, and then this trait, sorry, and then let's write function. Inside the function what I will do here, I will write first of all let resource, and then I will write resource, and then what I will do here, I will write the name is going to be resource name. So resource name could be hello world. Okay, just for the understanding, hello world. Okay, it is going to be converted to string. And then if I write like print statement, and inside this I will write what you can say here, resource res. Okay, so this is going to be the print statement that is going to be printed here. So now let's clear this cargo run. You can see here that it is giving me the message that resource cannot be formatted with the default formatter. So you cannot format it just like you have formatted this value, because if you want to format this value you can simply write this curly braces, but if you want to like print this name inside the struct, you can use this kind of way. Okay, so like this. So now this resource is printed in can be printed in this way, colon, and then what you can say question mark, and then clear this. And now it is giving me another error that you need to write the attribute here. So attribute is important in order to print the data, because now the struct is going to be printed, because the value was printed in a normal way, you just wrote the curly braces. But now if you want to print the what you can say structure and the data that is present in the structure, that is basically the resource, you have to make it debug. So how you can make it debug? By using the debug attribute. Okay, so by what this attribute is all about. So let me just write it first of all. So this will work fine if I write it clear here. Okay, greetings. So here is the greetings. I need to remove this greetings because this is now resource. Okay, not greetings. If I clear there, you can see here a resource is basically hello world, and defining resource hello world. So yeah, basically let me just tell you that what the attribute is. So attribute is basically a kind of functionality in which you in which the code will be already written of debug, of clone, of multiple things that you can use it for your use case multiple times. So now if you want to debug the code, you don't have to write the code for debugging. Instead you can just define this attribute and it will allow you to debug the code. Okay, so similarly there will be another kind of functionality or another kind of attribute that is going to be a clone. So clone is a functionality that will basically make a copy of this resource that I have used it here. So now you don't have to define a functionality of the clone. Instead you just have to write the clone attribute here and it will work for you in the struct. Okay, so yeah, these are the pre-written code or like the attributes that are written previously in which you don't have to write the code manually by writing the boilerplate code. Instead you just need to call this attribute and it will allow you to use this. Okay, so yeah, this is what the attribute is all about. So now let's write the same thing inside the scope. Okay, and now you can see here that it is inside the scope. And if I show you here, if I print this statement, you can see here that it will not work. If I clear this, you can see here that it is not working, not found in this scope. So how I cannot, why it is not found? Because it is outside this scope. This one is inside the scope. Okay, so outside scope resource, the scope resource. Similarly inside the scope resource. Yeah, this is not working. So now how I can make this work? So let's say if I remove this because it is outside, let's say if I want to create this like something like this, it will work. Okay, and because it is inside the scope, if I make it work, you can see here that the inside the scope resources printed multiple times. Now if I want to use this drop, I can simply write, first of all, define the crat, that is basically use std and then mem, and after that if I want to, let's say, make it drop, what you can say, map mem, and then drop, and inside the drop I will write resource. Okay, And then if I write the same thing here, you will be able to see that what it will be demanding. It will be demanding the clone functionality. You can see here that you can clone this value because it is not it cannot be used. It is borrowed here. You can see here that the value is borrowed here after move, although this is the original thing that is printed here. Now it is using again, so now it is going to be cloned. So how I can clone this? So this time you don't need to write like this clone simply here. So with this kind of functionality it will not work, because if you write it, let me just show it to you. If you write it this, you can see here that it is still giving me this message that method not defined in resource. Okay, so although it was defined previously, you can see here that although this method was defined previously, but now here you need to define it like this, like by using this attribute. Okay, so now I use those that attribute, and if I clear this, now this time it will work. You can see here, now this time it is working inside the scope, and this is inside the scope after drop. So let me just write it like this, after drop. Let's clear this. You can see here inside the scope after drop and inside the scope before drop. So now this is how the clone functionality will work inside this structure, in which you have to define the trait for this is. So this is trait, not the method, because I forgot about it. So now the method can be written like in a more simple way, but now this is the trait. Yeah, let me just yeah, so this is not, yeah, this is not the trait, this is method. So yeah, for a trait you have to define the method specifically. Okay, so for trait you have to define the functionality specifically. So yeah, this is the method, sorry. So yeah, this is the method. This is the drop method for resource. Drop method for resource. Okay, this is the drop method for resource, because for the trait you have to define this kind of drop method here in this trait, but now this is the method. So yeah, I hope you understood that what the what you can see here, that what the drop functionality will work, and what the drop method is, and how you can use this even if you want to print the data or use the data inside the scope. So yeah, so I hope you like this video. So if you liked it, then make sure to subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, then ask those questions in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer all of them. So till then, goodbye.